Greetings, friends. Welcome to today's devotional, the end of another week of devotions. Of course, Sunday I will not be posting a devotion because I would encourage you to participate in worship, although online, but still participating in worship and praising God, because that's eminently possible even when we're not gathered together. Our devotion today comes from Psalm 44. We have heard with our ears, O God. Our ancestors have told us what deeds you performed in their days, in the days of old. You with your own hand drove out the nations, but them you planted. You afflicted the peoples, but them you set free. For not by their own sword did they win the land, nor did their own army or arm give them victory, but your right hand and your arm and the light of your countenance, for you delighted in them. You are my God and my King and my God. You command victories for Jacob, through you we push down our foes. Through your name we tread down our assailants. For not in my bow do I trust, nor can my sword save me, but you have saved us from our foes, and have put to confusion those who hate us. In God we have boasted continually, and we will give thanks to your name forever. Yet you have rejected us and abased us, and you have not gone out with our armies. You made us turn back from the foe, and our enemies have gotten spoil. You have made us like sheep for slaughter, and have scattered us among the nations, and you have sold your people for a trifle, demanding no high price for them. You have made us a taunt of our neighbors, the derision and scorn of those around us. You have made us a byword among the nations, a laughingstock among the peoples. All day long my disgrace is before me, and shame has covered my face, at the words of the taunters and revilers, at the sight of the enemy and the avenger. All this has come upon us, yet we have not forgotten you, or been false to your covenant. Our hearts have not turned back, nor have our steps departed from your way. Yet you have broken us in the haunt of jackals, and covered us with deep darkness. If we had forgotten the name of our God, or spread out our hands to a strange God, would not God discover this? For he knows the secrets of the heart. Because of you we are being killed all day long, and accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Rouse yourself. Why do you sleep, O Lord? Awake, do not cast us off forever. Why do you hide your face? Why do you forget our affliction and oppression? For we sink down to the dust, our bodies cling to the ground. Rise up, come to our help, redeem us for the sake of your steadfast love. This is a rather unusual psalm in that there's accusations being cast towards God for being unjust. The psalmist writes in here that God's abandoned them and sold them for a trifle, and yet they have not forgotten God or transgressed his covenant, which is questionable. God is ultimately just, and it seems rather conspicuous that he would punish them in this way, even though they were keeping covenant and not worshiping other gods. The history of the Old Testament tells us otherwise, but this is obviously taking place during a great battle against some other nation that has really kicked their butts, pardon the expression. But they are at their wits' end and slinging accusations really at God. Yet there still does remain in them the hope that He is the only one to redeem them and give them strength. And this funny thing about God being just or unjust, for us, it's part of our faith and part of what we know to be true about the character of God, that He is ultimately just all the time. He is just and fair in a perfect and absolute way. Though we don't always understand God's ways, and rarely do we understand God's ways, and that's absolutely, that's the way it ought to be. The one who created the heavens and the earth and knows everything that's going on everywhere in every person, every thought, every word, every action. God's taking it in all at the same time. It's impossible to imagine that, yet God is fully capable, and that's who God is. And so for us to try to understand God is certainly a productive endeavor, but it's not something we'll ever be able to do completely and fully. Yet in this psalm, in this prayer that is that has been written, it's crying out to God and questioning God is not a bad thing for us. It really isn't. There's people out there that think that all of our prayers should just be good things about God, but sometimes our lives have gone completely haywire, and we don't know what's going on or where it's coming from or why would God allow this to happen in our lives. And there's something very cathartic about complaining and, well, accusing God of things that we probably in our hearts know aren't true, but in our minds, at least it gives us some sense of relief from what's going on. But ultimately, like the psalmist, we should never lose hope in a God who will eventually and has already delivered us. Think about Jesus and what he endured and how unjust it was that he was accused of things and convicted of things he never did, and obviously hung on a cross for crimes he never committed. But God was willing to do that for our sake because of his love for us. A God that does that probably isn't going to be punishing us unjustly. But God's big enough, God's mighty enough, God's powerful enough, and God's feelings don't get hurt when we fight back, or when we accuse him of things, or when we even shake our fists sometimes at God because of what we're going through. And it's okay to do that. God understands our hearts even before we verbalize how we're feeling. He knows what we're thinking. And so being honest with him and with ourselves, like I said, it can be a cathartic thing for us. So for whatever you're going through, whatever you've gone through, whatever things are happening in your life, whether it's pandemic related or just life related, God is there for you, and he's there for you for whatever it is that you need. If it is to yell and scream, if it is to pray for deliverance, if it is to ask for hope or faith or anything else, God's there for all of it. He knows us perfectly, and we can come to him in all of our brokenness. That's our devotion for today. So I hope you guys enjoy your Sunday and your worship, and we'll do this again on Monday with Psalm 45. Until then, be well, be blessed.